it's empowering to see that there are ways to do this, either as a single mom or as a family unit that can really make a difference for generations, not just you as an individual. And I think that's being kind.
Welcome to the Kindness Podcast. I'm Nicole Phillips. Today's guest is a nationally recognized health and wellness expert. Her name is Wendie Pett, and Wendie is a doctor of naturopathy with more than 20 years in practice. She's the creator of the Visibly Fit program, and for our listeners in the Twin Cities area, you might know her as Coach Wendie from KTIS Radio, where she has been encouraging people for almost a decade toward health. And I am thrilled to be able to have you on today, Wendie. Thank you so much. And I just want to tell everybody, you are an overachiever because not only do you have one podcast, you have two podcasts, and it's everything I can do to just do one. So way to go. Tell us, what are those podcasts? So for people who love pods, they can find you there too.
Thank you. Yes, the Visibly Fit podcast and Your Biggest Breakthrough with my husband. And I have been doing what I've been doing for 2 decades. You said one. I'm like, oh, goodness, it's been longer than that. I'm old.
Oh, bring it to 2. Yeah, we can't let a whole decade of experience pass, right? We got to level that up. Thank you for correcting me on that. That's very important. Okay, for people that are just meeting you, can you explain kind of what your Visibly Fit program is? Who are you? What is your thing?
Yeah, Visibly Fit is really all about the whole person. And that's really what naturopathy is all about, is coming at approach, seeing the person as a whole person, not just a piece of the puzzle. But it's mind, body, and spirit, and which even taps into emotions and relationships. It's the whole kit and caboodle, because so many people want to fix their health by just attacking it with diet. And that's a good place to go, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more of how are we thinking about ourselves internally? What are the words that we speak over ourselves? Are we in a place of unforgiveness? There's so many different pieces of the puzzle that people just aren't really aware of. They want the quick fix, like give me that GLP-1 or whatever it is, and let's go for it. But really, we want to get to the root of the issue so that we break the cycle of just unhealthy habits and even abuse.
So I had done some really intensive therapy. I'm going deep here fast. Wow.
Let's go.
Let's do it, right? For sexual trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And in the midst of that, and the people who had showed up at this place were there for all sorts of different types of trauma. But what they had said in that is that some of the behaviors, the self-medicating, the things that happen is the smoke. And what you need to do is get down to the fire.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I'm hearing you say. Is that an accurate way to say it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, getting to the fire, you're going to get burned. It's hard.
Oh, Wendie. Oh.
You know this, Nicole, right? Like there's going to be hot tears coming down your cheeks. Like it's tough. And it's even tough as the naturopath and the coach and the person that's pushing and prodding in a loving way. It's exhausting. But yet the breakthrough on the other side is so rewarding. When you get out of that fire and you may be burned a little bit, but you're not burned to the bone. Like you're fine. Like your hair will grow back and you're going to be fine. It's so rewarding to see people have those aha moments and be healed finally of those wounds that have been just gaped open for years and years and years. And a lot of my patients, are in their 60s. I've even got some in their 70s, and they have dealt with stuff from their childhood that they are, they're finally dealing with it. And I just don't want people to go through their entire life in this place of shame and guilt and condemnation and unforgiveness, where they're taking it out on themselves and maybe don't even realizing it by stuffing their emotions with food, stuffing whatever it is. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's whatever it is. And so we just want to get to the root of the problem, pull out those weeds, and allow what God wanted to be rooted there to grow and flourish.
Okay, so you just mentioned the word God.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what happens when you have a patient who says, I just don't know about God? I don't know if there is a God, if that God would be for me because of the amount of whatever they've been told their whole lives, the amount of trauma, the whatever.
Yeah. That happens a lot, honestly. There's a lot of brokenness and wounds within the church, within, that have turned people away from God because people don't realize that, God was actually with them in the storm. Because it doesn't feel like it, right? Because it's like, why would God, who's so wonderful and great and loving and kind and merciful, allow this to happen? And the truth is it's free will. There's a lot of evil in this world, and it doesn't mean that God wasn't there, but there's good on the other side of it, and that's where I really try to help pray people through and get them through and realize that it's not God that did it. It's the unfortunate event of unhealthy people that have their own traumas and hurt people, that kind of thing. And so when we get to kind of talking about that and go through a lot of forgiveness exercises, it's really amazing. I talk about how to get to a level of health and healing, it's all in the power of the F word. And people are like, "Ooh, the F word."
Yeah.
And
We
and
just took a
it's
different turn here.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But F is for forgiveness. And that forgiveness really is that key that unlocks the door to your heart, unlocks the door to next healthy habits. It's amazing what forgiveness is. It's like it's a gift for you. We sometimes think that, oh, if I forgive that person, then that means they're off the hook. No, they're not. But yet you don't have to harbor all that ick any longer. You forgive them, you move on, and you start taking care of yourself in a new and healthy way. And talk about redemption. Like it's powerful.
Do you ever get patients who are like, well, wait, I'm not here for that. I am here because I want to look good in my jeans.
All the time, Nicole, because that's how they see that my programs, let's get healthy and fit and, in 7 weeks, because that's the program. But then when they dive into it and they're doing all this work, they're like, whoa, I had no idea. But then they start to connect the two of how, the ways in which they were, treating themselves in an unhealthy fashion is a root, is kind of that. Again, they're stuffing their emotions with unhealthy food, and it's more of an emotional state and not being present in the situation and being in a place of being in an elevated place of who they really are, who they were really created to be, because they're still in that place of who they were and what happened to them. So they feel that ick, and so they're not moving their body, they're not eating well, they just don't feel worthy. And I want them to feel worthy because they are. And
And that
when
ick,
when someone
mhm,
feels worthy, man, they operate in a whole different level.
that ick is heavy, right? It's how
Mhm.
can you move your body, and
Yeah,
when it's just you're carrying that much heaviness around.
yeah.
I'm curious about this kind of entanglement of all of it. It's the mind, it's the body, it's the spirit, and I mean, I guess I'm thinking that that's the way that we were created, but for people who feel like, I don't know. I mean, I've lived this long, forgetting, not dealing with whatever thing that happened to me, or I feel like I've made peace with it. I just don't understand why the rest of my body isn't coming alongside. What do you say to them?
Well, I would say that, a lot of people have read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? And the body still knows what you're thinking, even when you don't say it out loud, and it responds accordingly. So you may think you've dealt with it, but your subconscious is still reminding you of things that if you haven't fully dealt with it, if you haven't pulled things out by the root, it's still going to come up. There's still going to be triggers. You're still going to respond in ways that are comfortable, even though they're not how you'd want to respond, because that's kind of how you've always operated. And so when we can, again, pull that out by the root and get into a new habitual way and get some new neural pathways going, then you're going to operate in a different way. And it just takes practice, just like anything else. It's uncomfortable. It's not fun. But then again, when you have that aha moment and you start to feel your body come alive and your brain is on fire, you're like, wow, I had no idea I could feel this good. And I had no idea that I didn't have to feel so shameful or full of guilt or maybe fear, resentment, all these different emotions, because our body, we operate at different frequencies, right? And emotions um, keep us in a different state of being based on their frequency. And so fear and condemnation and shame and guilt and all those things are low vibrational frequencies. And so we're kind of in that Eeyore state, that, oh, woe is me, depressed, down and out kind of state, as opposed to love, peace, joy, kindness. It is a whole elevated way of living. I mean, you're vibrating at a higher pace, and that's where your body comes alive and your cells operate at a different level. I actually interviewed on the Visibly Fit podcast a couple of years ago, Dr. Francisco Contreras, and he's with the Oasis of Hope Hospital in Mexico. And it's a hospital for mainly cancer patients. And I said, Doc, why do you think so many people are coming in? Like, what are you finding that's kind of a commonality? And he said, fear and anger. And I said, oh my gosh, you're talking my language. So that again, those are low vibrational frequency emotions. And there's all kinds of proverbs, all kinds of things that talk about the emotions that we feel and the thoughts and words that we speak. Life and death is in the power of the tongue, right? So it does affect us at the cellular and subcellular level, and it can show up as dis-ease in the body. And so, I think it's powerful. And so the more we understand that, dis-ease, yeah.
Also known as
Disease.
Wow.
That's right.
And there
That's
is
right.
so much fear and anger. It's very accessible right now in our culture. And so it feels like we have to be very proactive. So for me, I've started journaling in the morning. Like, I sit down and I do 20 minutes where I just kind of unleash and unload everything that is here in my brain, and
So
it
healthy.
is not pretty, and then I delete it because no one ever needs to see that.
That's right.
And then I sit and I meditate, I pray, I am in a place, put myself in a place of calm for 10 minutes. What are your daily non-negotiables?
Yeah, well, I definitely have my time in my prayer chair. And actually, my husband and I, we are blessed to be able to have that time together every morning. And it's just beautiful. Like, I'll have, a devotional that I'll read. He has one. And then we go into, God's word, the Bible, and just read together and unpack it and then pray together. And that's really a beautiful thing. And that's a non-negotiable. But before even that, when my eyes open up, I just say, thank you for a new day. Thank you for waking me up again today, Lord. And then I literally, and this is because of Mel Robbins, actually, this has been going on for over 4 years now. I roll out of bed and I do push-ups.
Wait, what?
I want to do a hard thing like right off the bat. So my husband, when I first started doing these, he's like, where'd you go? Where are you? And I'm like, oh, I'm on the floor. I'm doing push-ups. So I've been doing that for 4 years straight. And it just feels weird if I miss out. Like, we went on a missions trip to Pakistan. I was doing those push-ups. I mean, if I'm sick, I do push-ups. Maybe not as many, but I'm not going to break this habit. Like, it just feels so good to do something hard. And then I always make my bed, right? But then I chug some, apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, cayenne pepper, and warm water. Have that, and then I have my tea, and then that's when we have our time in our prayer chairs, which is all of them non-negotiable. All of it.
It is the routine, but I love that
It's
you
the
start
routine.
the day with gratitude.
Yes,
Thank you
yes.
for this new
Thank you.
day.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
gratitude can
Yeah.
talk about new neural pathways, right? Gratitude
Absolutely.
can
It
build
sure
something really
can.
beautiful.
Not to steer this any other way, but I wanted to share something about fear because I just read about this study. Some people were sweating at the gym, like, getting their sweat on. And then other people were sweating from fear from jumping out of an airplane. They collected the sweat, and they had these people smell the sweat from the people in the gym versus the people that jumped out of the airplane. I know, get this. I wouldn't want to be one of those people that did the sniff test, but as they smelled the pheromones, if you will, basically the chemical reaction on both sweat, their bodies responded with fear from the one that jumped out of the airplane. The ones that were working out on the treadmill, there was no reaction. But those that had that adrenaline, that cortisol, all that whole fear-based kind of chemical release, it started to activate their own fear. So I was thinking about that in terms of your podcast and how powerful kindness is, and how, the opposite, of fear and each way actually creates a ripple effect, right? Because kindness is contagious, but so is fear. So which way do we want to create the contagion?
That's right. That's right. And if you feel like, well, I don't know what sort of a difference that I could make in my little sphere of influence, there is happiness, a happiness contagion that researchers have found now too, that each up to like 3 different levels of happiness. So if I become healthier and happier in my life and I take care of me, then the people within 1 degree of separation, my best friend, let's say, is going to feel happier. And then
Yes.
her husband is going to feel that degree of happiness raise. And so if anyone's listening and they're like, what is that research? Go to see Dr. David Hamilton. We've had him on the podcast before too, but he has talked about that as well. And it's just really lovely the way that we can take a stand for goodness in the world just by loving ourselves and
Yes.
in our little 1 square inch well.
Yes. Yeah. And we're called to love our neighbor as ourself, right? But if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love your neighbor? So it does start here, right? It starts with taking care of yourself, making sure you've got any kind of unforgiveness, that's been healed, and then you can love others in a great way.
So, Wendy, can we take this
Yeah.
really practically
Yeah.
for people? So if
Sure.
they're listening and they're like, okay, I need a 1, 2, 3, like I need something to get me started.
Yeah.
What is that?
I think the first thing is take a deep breath, honestly. Like it feels overwhelming when you think about there's so much information, right? And maybe in your life, you've got a lot. You've got a lot to unpack. Just unpack one thing at a time. Don't feel like you have to do it all at once, but start somewhere. If you don't start anywhere, you're not going to change anything. But if you start just in one area, things will start to pick up momentum. That snowball will get bigger as it goes down the hill and get momentum as it rolls down. So just start somewhere. Start somewhere where it's like, okay, I can feel it, like this is an accomplishment. So maybe for you, it's rolling out of bed and doing a couple push-ups. And if that feels good, then go to the next thing. Maybe it's taking a walk around the block. Walking is so incredibly powerful. It releases, dopamine and serotonin and those happy hormones. So just go for a walk and give gratitude, like a gratitude walk. That can make a big difference in how you are operating. Make sure you're hydrating. So many people are chronically dehydrated and they're not thinking straight. They're in a place of being lethargic, and really you just need water. I mean, we're 70% or so water at the cellular level. We need water. So it's simple things like that. Put a plant on every plate. So get rid of the dead food, some of the standard American diet foods, and put a plant on every plate, something green, something that's alive, something that's going to nourish your body at the cellular level. It can be that simple. And then again, it starts to snowball. And so you start to feel better about yourself. You start to get more confidence, and your body does start to change when you start doing those small little things. So those are practical.
Okay, I noticed you didn't say go spend a lot of money on a gym membership.
Nope. Because your body is your gym, Nicole.
Say
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. So I've been doing this, well over 2 decades. And so I teach that the mind is so powerful that you can actually create the weight in your hand without it being there. So you can envision that you have weights by your side, for instance, and you're going to do bicep curls. Envision those 10, 20, 30-pound weights and do slow, controlled, concentrated reps and curls, focusing on the front of the arm, the bicep. And then as you release those heavy weights, you're also getting the positive and the negative interacting. So you get the triceps as well. I've got hundreds of exercises. You can work from your neck to your toes this way. You do not need a gym membership. I haven't had one in years and years and years and years. Just use your body as your gym. And it doesn't put stress on your joints, tendons, and ligaments. And I think, I'm a little more mature in years, and I appreciate that. I'm not like pounding, and I don't have these aches and pains that a lot of busted up weightlifters have. And there's no room for injury. And the stronger you become, the more you can actually lift. And it's a lot of DVR, like dynamic visualized resistance. So kind of like moving isometrics. I know it's an oxymoron, but that's what we're doing. It's like moving isometrics. I usually tell people it's kind of like if you've ever seen a bodybuilder like posing on stage, where they're going through these poses and they're flexing and they're tensing and they're moving. Those are moving isometrics. And so those are the kind of exercises that we do that are just powerful. You can be of any age, any athletic ability. I've trained professional athletes, from Olympians to football players to people that have never worked out a day in their life, and everyone can do it. And I think that's the power and the beauty of it as well. And there's no room for injury.
Help me if I misunderstood, because you had mentioned thinking as part of this. And there is
Correct.
some really super interesting research that talks about how people are, I don't remember the whatever percentage, stronger if they don't even lift a weight, but if they think about lifting a weight.
Mhm.
And even like playing the piano, if they aren't practicing the piano, but they're thinking about practicing the piano, that like all of this, like your mind is just this crazy powerful tool, right?
That's right. That's right.
So you're not just saying think about working out.
No, you are actually working out. In fact, you will break a sweat if you're doing it correctly. In fact, I hope that you break a sweat. And I've had someone say, "Oh, I love your little stretches." I'm like, "Oh, you're not doing them correctly then," because you will get an incredible, intense workout. Again, it's the power of the mind. No, the weights aren't here. I wish I could kind of show you, but maybe I could stand up and show you. I don't know. Okay, so the weights are not here, but you're imagining it, right? I'm going to do this. You cool with this? If people are watching?
Totally cool. If you're watching, then you're going to see it. And if you're not, then I'll explain it to you after if you're listening.
Yeah. Okay. So you have a weight in your hand by your side, like we're going to do a bicep curl, and you're going to flex and squeeze the front of the arm, again, with that heavy imaginary weight in your hand. You can see I'm shaking, I'm lifting, I'm squeezing, and then use that same level of tension and flexion on the way down. Again, it's slow, it's controlled, it's very different. But I'm telling you, you do a few of those, you will feel it, and you will break a sweat.
Do you hold any weight in your hand generally when you do it?
None. Nothing at all.
Okay.
It's the power of the mind. So again, I mean, I do deadlifts and squats and all kinds of things without any weights. You can envision that barbell on your back as you go and do squats. But again, you have to think about the muscle that you're working. It takes training. It takes a little practice. But once you understand the power and that connection of the mind and the muscle, and it kicks in, you're like, oh, I get it. Now, if you need to start off with some like 5-pound weights just to feel like you're doing something and visualize at the same time heavier weights, that's okay. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. If you and I had talked 6 months ago, I would have
You'd say I was
thought
crazy?
you were crazy. I would have been like, this woman, I had her on the podcast and she was like, you don't actually have to lift weights. Just think about lifting. And I would have been like, you are insane in the membrane. And yet, like, synchronicity being what it is, having just read these studies about the mind being able to actually create change in the body from visualization, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what you were talking about. So did you stumble upon this in your own life? Did something happen in your own life that you were like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to do it this way, and then you figured it out?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, on some level. So I was already doing these techniques, but I was in a snowmobile accident. and I was actually I was going about 55 miles an hour and I live in Minnesota. I grew up in Texas. I probably shouldn't have been on a snowmobile to begin with, but I was on one
Yeah.
and hit a big chunk of ice, got off the trail, and I couldn't regain control. And I hit a snow covered culvert going 55 miles an hour, which led me to go propelling through the windshield of the sled. And I hit a tree going 55 miles an hour, just propelled out of the sled and hit the tree. And so, yeah, I was unconscious. It's a miracle I'm here because 2 inches over, if I would have hit, I may not be here today. But I was actually able to rehab my shoulder in record time. They wanted to do surgery on my shoulder. I had broke my clavicle, tore a bunch of shoulder muscles, and actually rehab my shoulder by doing these type of exercises. So they're physical therapy type of moves as well. I've had patients where they had been in car accidents and they were wearing neck braces, and there's some neck exercises that I have, some isometrics. They were able to take off their neck brace in record time. Their migraine headaches were gone. It's powerful, powerful. Had people with back injuries and knee issues, and they've been able to overcome those without having to have surgery. So, I mean, there's a time and a place. Some people need to have surgery. I get that. But sometimes we just need to give our body a chance to heal and to build the muscle around the injury and do the right physical therapy.
I would like to dip in a little bit to your idea that wellness extends to caring for others, because you do a lot of work with women and children, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I do. I mean, mainly women. When women really understand the power that they have, not just for themselves, but for the whole family, then the ripple effect is huge, right? And so this the power of cooking in a healthy way. And I teach more of a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, mainly just to get that chronic inflammation out of people's bodies and get them on a path of healing. But the power of exercise by using your body as your gym, that you don't have to go to the health club, you don't need to spend money. It's empowering to see that there are ways to do this, either as a single mom or as a family unit that can really make a difference for generations, not just you as an individual. And I think that's being kind. It's not just about you. It's about the ripple effect of the goodness of forgiving yourself, forgiving others, taking care of yourself in the way that you're worthy of being cared for, and allowing those around you to see it. Just like you mentioned about the happiness and the contagion. Your best friend wants to see you happy and healthy and whole, and therefore it allows them to show up in a different way. And that's what we want for our kids, our grandkids, our sisters, brothers, everyone around us, coworkers. We want people to see us in a way that our creator sees us, right? And
Yeah.
that's a big piece of the puzzle.
And it can break things that bonds that have been holding us for generations, right?
Yes,
For that
yes.
have been passed down along family lines. I think people in families, regardless of their faith system, can say like, "Oh yeah, I got this from my father, and he got it from his father, and he got it from his father," and it's time to break those. I noticed you said the F word again, right? So we're back to the forgiveness and all of it too. What were you gonna say?
I
You
was
were
just
just
gonna say I was
visiting?
just with my family, but point made, my mom had said, "We're just big boned." And I'm like, "No, no, we're not." So that's the things that have been said over generation after generation, right? There you
Maybe,
go.
yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
What
Yeah.
haven't I asked you about that you wanna share with people?
That it's okay to get help. It's okay. Like, I could cry right now thinking all the women that think they gotta do it on their own and can do it themselves and have to have all the answers. We don't. That's the beauty of a tribe. That's the beauty of community. That's the beauty of being kind to one another, is learning from one another. And so you don't have to go at it alone. We've all been in a place where we've needed help, myself included. And if I didn't have those people around me, I don't know where I'd be today. And so just know that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to get to a place of newness and wholeness, and you can break through.
Are there any more encouraging words you could possibly say, Wendy? That is so beautiful.
Mm.
So
Oh,
beautiful.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you for talking with me today. Thank you, listener, for being with us today, for choosing to spend your time with the Kindness Podcast. You can learn more about Wendie and her Visibly Fit program at Wendie Pett. That's Wendiepett.com. You can find her on Facebook at Visibly Fit or follow her on Instagram at Wendie Pett. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would love for you to share it with someone. And I'd love for you to come back next time for another conversation about what kindness looks like in real life. And remember, what you look for is what you see.